Hi, and welcome back. Today we're talking about happiness. Happiness is something that is absolutely internal, but it can be really challenging at times to feel like you have the ability to affect it and change it and control it, depending on what's happening around you in your life at the time. But first, really quick, remember to like and subscribe. It lets YouTube know that you like these videos and this is something that can help people. Or in college, I went to school at UCLA, got a scholarship for the Navy, so I'm in ROTC, and I'm going to school with both people right out of high school like me, and also people that were active duty military that got the scholarship as well and are going to college and then become officers. So there was this Marine that I remember so vividly. He kind of popped up in my head the other day. He always had this huge smile on his face. And I thought, gosh, he's just so happy. And I kind of remember thinking at the time, I bet it's because, where he was before this and the kind of work he did. And now here he is in Los Angeles. It's sunny all the time. He's around all these young, happy people. And then I thought, that's why he's happy all the time. But then I got to know him a little bit more, and I realized he was happy when we were running in the rain, and he was just a happy person in general. And I thought, wow, that's such a superpower. And it really is something that we all have the ability to control. And I know there are varying types of circumstances, and some of them take a lot of effort in order to be a happy person still. And then other things, like for example, having a cloudy day, it's a lot easier to be like, oh yeah, okay, let's move on from that and have a happy day regardless, even though we had like 6 weeks of overcast, which is that's why I couldn't live in Seattle after a year. We didn't last. Before I had kids, and when I was, say, in the Navy, I was so busy all of the time. And I also had a lot of control over my circumstances. For example, I get off work, I go home, I have dinner, it's quiet, there's my cat. And then it was very peaceful and, nothing's really going to change my afternoon. It's very predictable. And then once I had kids, then it's like, well, I don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in or how they're feeling, and all those things would affect me, or even being in a relationship, what's going on with them. And so all these external factors, they started sort of adding up, and I realized I became very sensitive to them, and they did start to change my perception of my control of my own happiness, because that's all it is. It's not that it actually changes your ability or capacity to be happy, but it can start to influence how much power you think you have over your own happiness. Some really simple ways to just shift your mood quickly is to think of something different. That's like the most basic thing. So you're dealing with something stressful, think of something different, do something different. One of the things one of my kids does, I remember there was like a holiday time, it was like probably December, and he was sick and he was throwing up, and he had some kind of bug, like stomach bug or something, and we were up all night. It's heartbreaking to watch kids do that. And you know what he was doing the whole time? In between, when he wasn't getting sick, he was singing holiday songs. And so we'd sing these holiday songs and have a holly jolly Christmas. And it was like making the night so much lighter. And instead of being like super stressed out, it actually helped to soothe my nerves too. So just kind of changing your attention that way can be so powerful. Other things you can do is simply go to your happy place. That's another thing people do. They go to their happy place, their favorite memory, their favorite place. One thing that always relaxes me is thinking about my grandmother's house and outside, the trees outside, that little backyard area, the smell of her house. Like if I just think of it, I can smell the house. I was actually born at a hospital nearby. My mother was staying there at my grandmother's house. And so that was the first place that was my first home. And it was a home that I got to visit for, most of my life until now. And that smell, that the sights, the sounds of that home always feel like a happy place for me. I can always go there mentally. I read a lot of self-help books and like self-improvement. I'm obsessed with that stuff. And that's why I talk about this stuff here. I love it. And I love to hear other people's perspectives and the way that they describe their processes and everything. But something I really force myself to do is have a fiction book. And sometimes I'll only read like 1 or 2 pages at a time. And this is also another little happiness hack for me, because I'm like, I have a life where I have time to read. And that is like, to me, a life of leisure. And so even if it's like a page or 2. And what this does is, and it's so funny, I'll close the book after reading a page or 2. I caught myself doing it the other night, and I heard myself say, thank you so much for giving me that escape, for putting me in that other world for a little bit, even if it was 2 pages, because, I start out a book, maybe I'll read the first like 20 pages at the beginning to kind of get into the world, and being able to just pop into that world and out of my own, it gives me a break, like a neurological break. It gives me a perspective shift. It kind of takes me out of my own head and overthinking. And I remember saying that, and I realized I think I do that often when I read the book. I say, thank you so much for like giving me that little escape into that world. Another really fun thing to do is I'll watch a movie, like an old school movie that has a connection to a part of my childhood or a certain time of my life that was very different from where I am now. Maybe it was a good time, not necessarily just like, a time where that was a movie that I watched a lot or something. The other day I was watching Top Gun. It was kind of reminding me of my Navy days, and also like watching movies like that growing up and thinking that was so cool. I wanted to be a pilot like that. And I was like, oh, that's so neat. So that will also really elevate my mood and kind of like break a pattern, because really it's about changing the vibration. So when something's going around you that's stressing you out, or maybe you had a conversation with somebody that you keep replaying in your mind and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so awkward, and how do I recover from that, or what do I say next time I see that person, or something like that. And that's the kind of thing where you have to interrupt that inner voice, because our inner voices, those words then become feelings, then become vibrations, and that's what you're going to attract more of. So it's just going to build up and up if you just keep spinning in like that old conversation, for example, like I said, then you're going to start repeating the conversation. You're going to have that PTSD where you're basically reliving the feelings as if they're happening right now, but they're not happening right now. Right now, you're just sitting in a room, talking in your own head, increasing negative vibrations. So first of all, it's awareness. It's understanding how energy works with our bodies, how emotions work, what the source of them is, and it's the thoughts to the feelings to the vibrations, and then the vibrations just reverberate. They just give us back what we are putting out there. So if you kind of are a person that loves to like have an edge, if that's like a motivation for you, you could think, hey, I really need to be thinking happy thoughts all the time if I want to have more happy things happen to me. And one thing that's kind of interesting that I was doing recently, I kind of tried this little like piggyback thing. I've talked about habit stacking. Well, this is like another idea where, say you're like spinning in a certain thought, even if it's anything from, like I said, the old conversation to maybe I'm like obsessing over my pillow combos. I know it's like really lame, but say I'm obsessing over my pillow combos and I'm like, what is that? That's not getting me anywhere. It's distracting me from relaxing. It's distracting me from whatever. So what I could do is I could create an affirmation or a mantra, and I could say, well, every time that pillow combo pops into my head, I'm going to say, my home is a beautiful work in progress, or I'm just making stuff up, but basically make something that works for you, that's positive. And then every time that thought comes into your mind that you don't want to focus on, then, because if I'm just saying, I hate my pillows, I hate my pillows, I hate my pillows, what's going to happen? I'm going to hate my pillows. And I'm just like perpetuating like negative emotions, especially for something that's so not important, just kind of like in the grand scheme. So you can then start noticing the thought and immediately tacking on that new thought, that new vibration, like, oh, I love my home. Oh, I love that I can just do whatever I want with my home whenever I want, or whatever you're going to say. Another thing that I've tried that is super helpful, I do this all the time now, is I just change the activity or the environment. So if I realize I'm stewing on something, one of the first things I do, just like how that was a trigger, that like negative talk about the pillows was a trigger to say one of my affirmations, I have triggers. Laundry is a huge trigger for me because I'm like, I always have to do laundry no matter what's happening. The laundry in our house has to get done. We go through so much laundry all the time. So I'm like, okay, go run some laundry. Something's bugging me in my head or making me sad or whatever. It's like redirect that energy into chores that have to get done anyway. You can go for a walk. It just depends on, I want you to really think about things that are like quick and resistance free. Triggering another thought or affirmation, you can do that easily, right? If it's something like bigger that takes like more step, like, oh, like if it's a walk, then you gotta get your shoes on, then you gotta go outside, pick stuff that is literally something you can immediately do. I can always immediately do laundry. It's always around, it's always ready to be done. So think about stuff like that. And I know this is a little off topic, but still in the same idea. My mom would always say, it doesn't matter how unhappy you are, or just if you're just kind of like uninterested in just everything and at a very low point, she says, what you're going to do, you got to give your life to somebody else. You've got a life, like use it for something. If have lost all like hope and excitement about your own things, like give your life to someone. And I always thought that was really interesting. Yes, that is like in an extreme case. And today I'm more talking about more of the day-to-day things. Of course, if you have any kind of like clinical depression, I always say, these are not meant to diagnose anyone or anything like that. This is just about finding accessible ways to quickly shift into a higher mode. And so if you are feeling uninterested in things, think about a way you can help somebody else. Find a way you can pick somebody's kids up for them, or like, run a quick errand, or, something like that. I don't know, whatever is in your sphere, your world. But those things also, it's that giving yourself to somebody. Like, we are here to live and have beautiful lives, and there are going to be highs and lows. And we can keep that high going with momentum and with shifting our environment, our activity, and our minds. And so I just wanted to share those things with you because these are the things that, as you do them more often, I always like to remind you, the tiniest little shifts like this on a consistent basis over time become natural. You don't have to be somebody that was just like born happy, that like their family was always happy. Like maybe you had things in your childhood, you're like, oh, I wasn't such a fan of that. Okay, so you don't have to be a sad person for the rest of your life. That's a story that you can decide at any time and change at any time. Okay, so my daughter just woke up, so this is the end of today's video. Thanks again for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Head down to the description for any links that you're looking for, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.